Chapter 15. More snippets of the War on Culture. America has been a multicultural nation for centuries. We have also always subscribed to Judeo-Christian values. However, the ongoing, Marxist-based war against God seeks to force upon the world a socialist communist system of government, and to do so without risk to those who are pushing this. Our whole culture has to be changed diatribe. Perhaps they should say our culture has to be groomed or tweaked instead of cancelled. Or there will be pushback, and those who are planning to seduce the world into a single government without nation states. Another goal of Karl Marx: have no armies, so they have to be pretty subtle, careful, and deceitful, or suffer the consequences because Americans like their freedoms and don't like being pushed. Could that be what Barack Obama was thinking after this crack-smoking man was mentored by communists like Frank Marshall Davis? Obama was also a man who had never had much of a real job, had a fake birth certificate, 3 different names, was enamored with Marxist socialism in undergrad years, and sought to fundamentally transform the United States of America. It's been said he is currently living out his 3rd term as president behind the scenes through his former, and now senile, vice president, if not for the influence of radical, anti-America operatives. And if Biden had no connection to the socialists or communists, even indirectly through Obama, would he even think to nominate a former communist to a position in which she would control our national money supply? We spent decades and huge amounts of our national treasure trying to keep communism out of the Western Hemisphere. Or would he think to nominate somebody to become the Fed's top banking regulator? Sarah Bloom Raskin, the wife of a secular Democrat whose husband demanded the new Biden/Harris administration teach children in elementary and middle schools about deviant forms of sex. Would he have thought to put another leftist operative into the powerful position of U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, or a district attorney in New York County, both of which refused to prosecute a long list of crimes and or personally downgraded felonies to misdemeanors? Isn't prosecuting the job prosecutors are paid to do? And if so, how is it they get to pick and choose which laws they will uphold? This is how the left is managing to gain increasing control of America. By putting their operatives into key positions in government, banking, education, law enforcement, etc. And the beat goes on. The breakdown of traditional mores and institutions adds to the confusion of developing children and gullible factions of society at large who are told, for example, they can be any gender they want to be, thus capitalizing on the tragic effects of a mental disorder called gender dysphoria. This idea has caused chaos across many Western nations, insults the masses, is destroying women's sports, causes unnecessary pronoun problems in our language, and confuses the most basic cultural norms by trying to put men into women's restrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, and other gender-specific facilities. Further, it generally blurs the lines between the logical, proper, and traditional definition of male and female as it has always been known and should always be known. Do you see Brock Chisholm's fingerprints on this yet? I. Removing from the minds of man individualism. How about the Marxists, since Karl Marx wanted to abolish truth and morality? What are we accomplishing as a society when schools force elementary school children to march in a gay pride parade? What are we accomplishing when a male swimmer, a guy named William Thomas calling himself Leah, is accepted into competition against biological women and or calling him by feminine pronouns? We are being forced by the cancel culturists to perpetuate a lie. I. See the Marxist campaign against truth. We have devolved to a point where a Biden nominee for a seat on the Supreme Court was asked to define what a woman is, and she couldn't do it even though she is one. She said she wasn't a biologist, so she couldn't define the word, even though 5-year-old kids are not biologists either. Ask any one of them to point out a woman and they can do it. But a nominee for the Supreme Court couldn't. 5-year-old kids are not usually veterinarians either, but they can identify a dog. Breaking down tradition is what the left is all about, and now you know why, since you know what cancel culture is, where it came from, and why. Speaking of Supreme Court Justice Ketanji B. Jackson, you have to wonder where Biden got such a nominee who was known to give soft sentences to child molesters. It's not hard to find. Glenn Beck explains where Biden got her name. Biden can't remember his own name, so we doubt he'd remember Ms. Jackson's name without help. But here's a brief on it. Jackson's name came to Biden from a little-known outfit named Demand Justice, established in 2018 to oppose Supreme Court nominees of the Trump administration, e.g., Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, just to show how serious they are about keeping conservatives off the court so their radical agenda has a better chance of succeeding. They spent $20 million opposing Barrett's nomination. They are also supporters of the Democrat plan to pack the court, perhaps with judges who can't define what a woman is, or can't define what an assault rifle is, and are so lacking in integrity, character, and patriotism that they succumb easily to Chinese tactics of elite capture. For items on the list of the overzealous wing of the Democrats that don't make sense is their constant drooling over transgenders. Anybody with a modicum of common sense knows that gender is assigned at conception and is the first, most immutable, and unchangeable thing we all are. Centuries-old skeletons have been dug up by archaeologists, and they can be identified as male or female. A man can surgically remove his genitals, but that doesn't make him a woman. It makes him a eunuch. Leftists wrongly believe there are dozens of genders, and one testified in front of Congress that the numbers of genders are incalculable. But gender has nothing to do with identifying a series of mental disorders and off-labeling them. Another element of what the left is peddling is that gender is fluid, and a person can decide what gender he or she wants to be on any given day. Frankly, that has nothing to do with biology and everything to do with mental disorders and gullibility. So, they don't need to go under the knife. Men can just think their way into women's private places. That may be the holy grail for a frat boy who wants a peek into the showers to check out the female flesh, especially since he can flip-flop back to being a male tomorrow. Gender has become separated from what the English language used to describe as sex, male or female. The textbook definition of gender, however, is as follows. Unless you see a textbook source that is one of the sad corporations that have gone woke. Either of the two divisions, designated female and male, by which most organisms are classified on the basis of their reproductive organs and functions, and the definition of the word sex is